I didn't even realize my hand was shaking until my daughter squeezed my fingers and looked up at me with those wide birthday eyes and said, "Daddy, are we really sitting in the big seats?" We were standing in that strange, buzzing airport space where everyone smells like coffee and impatience, where people pretend they're calm while quietly panicking about gates and time, and I smiled at her like this was the most normal thing in the world and said, "Yeah, baby, the big seats." And in that moment, I really wanted it to be true in more ways than one, not just the seat, but the feeling that for once I didn't have to explain myself, justify myself, or make myself smaller so someone else could feel comfortable. You know what I mean. I'd spent most of my adult life learning how to be quiet in rooms where people decided who mattered before you ever opened your mouth, and that morning I promised myself I wasn't doing that anymore, not with my kid watching. We boarded early, exactly when we were called, and for a few brief seconds, walking down that jet bridge, I thought, okay, maybe this is one of those rare days where nothing goes wrong. Yeah, that happened. Until it didn't. We stepped into first class, and it felt like stepping into another world. Soft lighting, low voices, everything polished and calm, like even the air knew it was expensive. I found our seats, helped my daughter climb into hers, and she lit up like she'd just discovered a secret club. "Daddy, look at this screen," she whispered, touching everything like it might disappear if she blinked. I laughed, stowed her bag, sat down, and felt my shoulders drop for the first time that day. And then I heard a voice above me, sharp, confident, annoyed, saying, "You're in my seat." I looked up and saw a man in a tailored suit that probably cost more than my first car perfect haircut, expensive watch, catching the light eyes, already telling a story about me before I said a word. Behind him stood a flight supervisor with that tight smile people wear when they've already chosen a side. He didn't ask. He didn't check his boarding pass. He just pointed at my seat like it belonged to him by default. I stayed calm on purpose. "My boarding pass says this is my seat," I said, holding it up. He didn't even glance at it. He looked at my hoodie, my sneakers, my daughter's pink backpack, and he laughed. Not a nervous laugh, not awkward, but that laugh that says we both know how this is supposed to go. "Come on," he said, loud enough for nearby passengers to hear. "First class isn't for people like you." And the wild part is, nobody corrected him. The supervisor didn't say a word. She just looked at me like I was the inconvenience she needed to move out of the way. He leaned closer and added, "What did you do? Steal a card or win some charity upgrade?" My daughter turned toward me, confused, her smile fading, and said quietly, "Daddy." And right there, something shifted in my chest. Not anger exactly, more like clarity. I stood up slowly, kept my voice low, and said, "Watch how you talk, especially in front of my child." He flinched for half a second, then straightened up again, puffed with confidence. "I want him moved," he snapped to the supervisor. "I'm not sitting next to this." He waved his hand like I was trash. The supervisor nodded and turned to me, voice suddenly sweet. "Sir, there seems to be a seating issue. If you gather your belongings, we can place you in Comfort Plus." I stared at her. "So let me understand," I said, still calm. "I paid full fare, boarded correctly. Sat quietly, and now I'm being asked to move because he demanded it." She used that word people love when they don't want to say the real reason. "For the comfort and safety of our guests." Safety. That word gets abused a lot. The man smirked, like the ending was already written. "Do the right thing," he said. And then, like I wasn't even there, he reached down and grabbed my duffel bag. "Get your junk out of my seat." "Don't touch my property," I said, my voice colder now. He yanked anyway. The zipper caught, ripped open with a loud, tearing sound that cut through the cabin, and everything spilled out onto that pristine carpet. Not clothes, not money, medical equipment, a small nebulizer, medication, and a framed photo that slid across the floor and landed face up. My wife. My daughter's mother. Gone 2 years now. My little girl gasped and cried, "Daddy, Mama." The man looked down, nudged the nebulizer with his shoe, and said, "See, junk." The supervisor didn't stop him. She just said, "Sir, please collect your items and move into the aisle." And that's when it hit me clear as day that some people will keep taking from you until it costs them something. I bent down, picked up the photo, carefully wiped the glass with my sleeve, and put it back in the torn bag. My daughter was crying quietly, holding her backpack like it was armor. I looked at her and smiled, soft but steady. "Pack up, baby," I said. "We're still going." "But Daddy," she whispered, "London." I nodded. "We're going to London, just not on this plane." Then I looked that man in the eye and said, "Enjoy the seat. It's the most expensive one you'll ever sit in." and I walked off while he laughed like he'd won something. The second we stepped back into the terminal, the airport noise rushed in, announcements, rolling bags, people arguing, the smell of fries, and my daughter asked, "Are we in trouble?" I crouched down and brushed her hair back. "No, baby," I said. "We're not." I pulled a small, secure phone from my pocket, dialed one number, and said calmly, "Execute Blue Stop." The voice on the other end hesitated. "That's a full hold, sir." "I know," I said. "Do it." I hung up, bought my daughter a burger and a milkshake, and we sat by the window like we had nowhere else to be. Inside the plane, I knew that man was probably sipping champagne, feeling powerful. That's the funny thing about entitlement, it mistakes noise for power. 3 minutes later, the plane's lights flickered. Then the engines went quiet. People hate that sound. The moment a plane stops humming, everyone remembers where they are. The jet bridge rolled back. Passengers started pouring out angry, loud, demanding answers. My daughter pointed with a fry and said, "Why are they mad?" I shrugged. "Some people don't like it when things don't go their way." Then I saw him storming toward me, red-faced, sweating. "You!" he yelled. "You did this. You grounded the flight." I didn't even stand up. I chewed slowly and said, "I assume I inconvenienced you. That's strange, though, since you got the seat." He shouted about meetings, about money, about ruining everyone's day. I looked at him and said quietly, "You broke my daughter's medical equipment and kicked my wife's photo. I decided I don't do business like that." An airline executive arrived, breathless, terrified, walked straight past him and stopped in front of me. "What can we do to fix this?" he asked. "I'm not looking for vouchers," I said. "I want him to understand why this plane isn't moving." The exec turned and explained plainly that without my company's release, the cargo and fuel were legally locked. The man froze. "Who are you?" he demanded. "I'm the guy you decided didn't belong," I said. I gave my conditions: next flight, different crew, and permanent removal of his status. He exploded, shoved an officer, and was cuffed on the spot. My daughter watched and asked, "Is he going to time out?"